Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing a review on these. These are sanding discs from a company by the name of NYNM on Amazon. And what it is it's a big assortment of sanding disc and polishing disc and buffing pads. And we're going to take a look inside this box to see what we got. It is a lot of different things. Right here on the flap, it shows all the different grits, from really coarse at 80 to really fine at 3000 for things like polishing. And then we also have buffing pads. Here is the big thank you card from NYNM, and I don't know what that stands for. But okay, so what we need to do is take everything out of the box and take a look. Let me lay it all out on the table and we'll see what we have. Okay, here we go. Here is everything that was in that box. I'll never be able to get it all back in there, I'm sure of it. So let's start on the left here. These are application foam pads. The more ripples it has, the softer it is. That's really soft. This is firmer, and this is firm. And then these are flat but soft. And these are for applying wax or a polish like Brasso or something. The tape, I haven't figured out what that tape is for, but we have two different ways to attach these. They have the receiver for, like, if you can see here, it's Velcro. You just stick them on there. And the same thing with the ones, so this is the one where you would do it manually by hand, or you also have these where you attach it to a drill. And of course they have a hole in the middle, and that's for the different sized chucks. So you have two different options depending on the type of drill you have. If you have a really big drill, it'll have a wide chuck, and a small drill will have a small chuck for these shanks. These are the shanks that are going to fit in there so that you are just covered for whatever kind of drill you got. We have a small drill here today, so we'll be using the small one. But back to the pads, we've got some polishing. So this is like after you have polished with like Brasso, or after you've waxed to get it all off, and to buff, you use these buffing pads. If you want something really, really soft, you got these that look like shag carpeting. Super, super soft. And then you have this stuff that does the major work. You have the actual sanding pads, everything from 80 grit, super rough, and then all the different varieties going through, and they're all labeled on their backs, to the finest, which is 3000, which is so fine I'm sure you're not even going to be able to see any grit on there, but that is for polishing. And what we're going to be doing here today, we are going to be demonstrating not quite everything, but we are going to be doing some sanding and some polishing. We're going to use the 80 grit pad on this piece of wood, because this is really far gone, to see if we can bring it back to life. And then we are going to try to do some polishing on this. Is a copper pipe, and then we've got a sheet of aluminum that's got a lot of oxidation on there. We'll see if we will use, I'm not sure what size to start with on polishing, but we'll see what the finest one does straight off the bat, and see if that just does the trick, or if we need to start with something rougher, and so on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the small shank into the small receiver pad and get it mounted up into the drill, and we're going to put the 80 grit pad on there, and we are going to sand this wood. So let's get set up. Okay, here we go. I've got the 80 grit pad in there, and we are ready to get started here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that worked very, very well. Let's get up really super close. I don't know how close we can get, but I'm imagining you can see that the roughness there that used to look like, oh, used to look like that, now looks nice and smooth. And it is completely smooth. Yep, all the ridges are basically gone. And it would take a while to do the whole thing. I hadn't realized that that drill turns so slow, but that's what we got today. So anyway, let's move on to the copper piece. I want to see what happens. We're going to put a, well, let's see what pad we put on there. As I mentioned, they're just Velcro. Just ripped the one off, so I'm taking off the 80. And we are putting on the 3000. We're just going to see what that does. And we are set. And so what we have there is we have a piece of copper pipe, and I think that we're going to zoom in pretty much right there to see what happens with the there's oxidation and there's some paint on there, and let's see if it takes it off. Wow. Wow, I'm shocked. Okay, so there's no question, that was truly amazing. That is just super nice. Of course, this is the worst possible thing I think you can do for a pad using no liquid or anything. It is clogging the pad. As you can see up close here, now we have copper and oxidation and dirt in the pad, and that's going to clog up the pad really fast. The better way to do that, you probably should have started with something like metal polish and one of these polishing pads. You load it up with the polish and you use the pad to get all that oxidation and dirt off of there first, and then, well, maybe that might be all you actually need. I don't know. So, or you could probably use this sanding pad with something like water. Keep it wet, and it may or may not clog up. I don't know, I'm new to this, but these sure are neat pads. So we have clogged up a pad pretty good here, but the results are amazing. Look at that. Looks brand new. But of course, the better way, you know, using something like a metal polish would have worked better, and then it dries to a haze, and then you buff it all off with one of these buffing pads. And we're not going to demonstrate that today because I'm just trying to stay kind of neat and tidy here. And we're going to move on to the aluminum. And since we've already messed up the pad, let's see what it does. The same pad straight onto the aluminum, see what happens. Okay, so this is where that got us. As you can see there, it certainly looks a lot better than it did. It looked like that. We certainly still have some swirl marks though. And so to get a perfect polish, I'm guessing is a much, much higher grit than even 3000. You can see the swirl marks there. So I wasn't going to use the buffing pads, the polishing pads, but we got the Brasso sitting right here. We got the polishing pads right here. So I will do a little bit of Brasso on here. Just we're looking to get a mirror finish on this, and we'll try that. Okay, so we're waiting for that to dry to a haze, and then we will go ahead and use one of the buffing pads to buff that off of there and see if that worked. Sorry if it looks like it's my first time, because it's my first time, but I have an interest in this, so I really am curious to see how this comes out. Anyway, the buffing will be next. Okay, so before actually putting on the buffing pad, so as to not clog up the buffing pad more than I need to, I'm going to start with just a towel to get the main stuff off of here. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. That's not quite a mirror finish, but well, I don't know. Let's put on the buffing pad and see what we get. Okay, so I guess that's about as good as we get on this particular piece of aluminum, and I say that because look at over here on this area where I was barely trying and wasn't even concentrating, and take a look at that line there. I'm thinking that I happen to have a piece of aluminum here that is not oxidized. I think that it had some kind of a huge chemical spill on it that has changed the aluminum. So what I've done here is the best that I'm going to be able to do on this one. And that is just what we got there. But it is a good demonstration of this set. The copper, of course, was the most fantastic result, and it certainly does have its capabilities with wood. Wide assortment of different sanding grits to use on your wood. You could, of course, keep going with the finer grits and get this to be ready for a varnish or something like that. But yeah, I did end up demonstrating the polishing pads and the buffing pad, although I don't think it really was utilized properly here. But that wraps it up for my review on this set. Now I tried to get all of these back in the box, which is of course never going to happen, and so I'm going to find another place to put them in a drawer. And stay tuned for some restoration of some metal parts that I'm going to be doing. That's why I agreed to do this review, is because I was wanting to do this sort of thing anyway. I will figure out how to polish aluminum, even if it is compromised with an acid. And we'll get better results here soon, because I've got a nice good set to use. So I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. There'll be a link in the description and the top pinned comment to go pick up this set. It's not very expensive, and it's definitely very, very helpful and useful. So see you in the next video or review or whatever is coming on next on the channel, and thanks for watching.